Now, they were all very manual-based options, and again, that's perfectly fine. That's where a lot of people start, but you can also then start to set rules and automate this. So there's a number of what they call lifetime management policies or management rules, and it pretty much goes through the what do you want to manage, when do you want to manage it, and how do you want it to be managed. Now, out of the box, Content Manager has, they ship with the product a raft of these different rules and lifetime management options. So, I might choose that this site automatically gets managed. I might choose that this site gets archived from SharePoint into Content Manager a year after it's been modified. So if no one touches the site, the rule says, let's pick it up in a year's time and move it into Content Manager. You can create all these rules just knowing the difference between SharePoint and Content Manager and move some files through. So in this example, we've got some automation, and this was actually a client demo last week. They wanted the user to interact in SharePoint and tell Content Manager when to move the files into Content Manager. So we have two little buttons here. One is finalized and one is moved to CM. Just speeding this up the time. I can go through and actually edit these files, and again, different rules are applying to these automatically. So the user might actually then go, well, I'm now going to hit the finalize button and hit save. Perfectly fine. Now what actually is going to happen for that is the rule that we've got set up, and again, this is just an example, you can do whatever you'd like to do, is when that tick box is yes, then go and put that or make a metadata record in Content Manager and finalize it in SharePoint. Again, perfectly nothing wrong with that rule. That's just another example of what you can do. The same example if you wanted to then say move to Content Manager. So we had a CIO recently saying, well, I want to push a button, quote, quote, and it should just magically go where it needs to go. So this is an example of this, magic push a button or move to CM, you call it whatever you want. And what's actually going to happen is it's going to, again, the rule says, oh, hey, I've got something here to move, and go move it. So this performance one we did before, which was the finalize, that has actually, again, a metadata record. We can see that sitting in Content Manager. The audit trails have started. Everything related to that record is now getting captured. We go through and have a look. Speeding it up here. We refresh the page. That other one, the rule is actually kicked off and now moved that file into Content Manager. And when we go back to SharePoint, that file is no longer there. It's been moved. And that's the whole idea of that rule. The next option is you might have an example where you just want to, let a business area work in SharePoint or Teams, it doesn't matter, and just things happen behind the scenes. So this is an example that, we've got a SharePoint library, it's the projects, I drag a document in, or multiple documents, and what happens behind the scenes is this document library is automatically getting managed and going into Content Manager without any user intervention whatsoever. Again, very straightforward to set up. Basic example as we go through. We can see that the Sullivan Nicolaides renewal has been updated. Go through the process and then go into Content Manager and see that that metadata file has automatically been created. We can also see if I was happened to search in Content Manager, for access, I can see the URL and I can actually edit and open that document and start working with it as well. So again, just an example of potentially managing that.